live. Let's see here. We got to go live. Go live. Let's go. Okay. Okay. I don't know if we live or not. Let's see here. Somebody.
Yeah, my screen said it was live.
My screen say live.
We're live because it's showing something here about not going live. We're live. Let's see here. We got an area here. Somebody flagged it. I don't know who did it. Someone flagged the show saying it's possible Facebook anti-spam system deleted your post. Facebook has been flagging quite a few COVID-19 posts as spam. So to stream to Facebook, create a new broadcast or just remove this destination from the broadcast and re-add. Okay, so I think we're on it. So we're gonna get started, and let's see here. Can I refresh this page and get it back on there?
Uh-oh, he disappeared.
Yeah, I see he's back up. There's probably some type of way.
He'll pull us back in.
Okay, thank you, everybody. I'm sorry about the delay. We are here with Knowledge is Power. And we've been having a great time here every Sunday and Tuesday evenings with your host, Tony Renfro. Now, tonight, I've got a special guest, two special guests. The mayor of Port Arthur, Texas, Mayor Thurman Bill Bartie. Hello, Thurman.
Hello, Mr. Renfro.
Yeah, let's let the folks know that the Mr. Mayor is in town. It's on the site, and I have my good friend Robin Mouton, the city councilman of the city of Beaumont, joining us as well. Hello, tell everyone hello, Robin. And we was backstage just shooting breeze about things that how we grew up and things we've done in the past, and through this pandemic right now, God is still good. And he's always good, and we're here to educate our communities on different affairs that's going on in our cities. I always say this is a positive show. This show is just for education, knowledge, financial, money management, and health. We want to make sure that you can be able to have that type of information straightly from here, because when you get here on Knowledge is Power is the truth. We don't play, we tell you the truth. We give you the facts. We want you to have the facts. We want you to know, because we get so lost up with talk, rumors. We want the public to know, our African American communities to know, we're going to give you the truth and the facts. So tonight, my guess is we're here tonight to just kind of share some information that's going on in the city of Port Arthur and the city of Beaumont. And I'm going to start this show off with my good friend, Mayor Thurman Bartie. Mayor, you've been in office now probably 11 a month, maybe almost a year, and tell us what it's been like. I mean, I know it's a new territory for you, and you wear a whole lot of hats. So we want to know how has it been, and where you going?
Yeah, well, I tell you what, Tony, and to my distinguished guest, Councilwoman Robin Mouton of the city of Beaumont, and to all of your listeners who are on, it began, and I jokingly I tell folks, man, I signed up to be the mayor because I wanted to cut ribbons and kiss babies. I said I've only cut one ribbon and I haven't kissed the baby yet. Actually, my tenure began officially July the 3rd of 2019, around the maybe 6th, 8th of July. We had a threatening tropical storm that was headed, our way up to the Gulf. So my tenure began exactly with that, and from that we moved to Imelda, which God blessed us in Port Arthur. We did not have the brunt of Imelda, but where you all actually had, you had the actual flooding again, and those things in Beaumont. Then a few months later, we had the TPC explosion out in Nederland that had, on Port Neches, rather, that had an effect on the entire South County, and portions of Port Arthur were affected because we were in the 4-mile radius from that incident. And then, lo and behold, at the beginning of 2020, here comes this novel coronavirus. So my tenure has been filled with trials, has been filled with tasks of having to displace leadership that sometimes is questioned by individuals. It's been filled with incidents that have actually caused me to have to take a stance. Sometimes that's not the most popular stance, yet with the information that's given and data that I have, and what I think is best for all the citizens according to the data that's been given to me, and after having consultation with others, to make a decision on things that affects the lives and livelihood and just the way of life within the city of Port Arthur. So it's been an experience, and that I had no idea I would be involved in, and for sure not to this extent or at this level.
You know, I always say this: when God put His hands on you and bless you, it is for you. It's not for nobody else but for you. So this is by our ordained sign that you were supposed to be the mayor of Port Arthur. Yeah. Even though you back in the day, I'm not gonna go there. but yeah, you was assigned to be the mayor of Beaumont. I mean, you was anointed to be the mayor of Beaumont. I mean, of Port Arthur. I'm sorry, and that's usually what happens. I always look at it when I last year that I ran for office, and I didn't win that position, but my frame of thought was, hey, God has other plans for me. I mean, it wasn't my time. You know, I don't dwell on what happened in the past or why I didn't get it. I know He has a plan, so I just have to follow His plan. So that's what I do, and I know for you that was His part. That was His plan. You know, it was part of the plan, His plan. So we're gonna ask my good friend Miss Mouton, Robert Mouton from Beaumont, the City Councilman of Ward
4.
And this is a question I want you to understand. And not before I ask that question, I want the audience, the viewers, to understand that the mayor and the councilwoman that's here tonight wanted to be here. They wanted to be here to give you this information, that you know they care about their community, they care about their city, and they want to strive to make their city a better place. And I just wanted the viewers to understand that this is the reason why you're here tonight. And I appreciate you coming, guys, for being here. But now I'm going to ask this question, and we're going forward. So, Ms. Mouton, I want you to explain to the people of Beaumont, the city of Beaumont, the structure of the city government, how it is structured, how it is operated, because they don't understand, they don't know that the city has two types of structures to a city government. And I wanted you to explain, because I know what you guys are going through when things happen, and people will call you about a light pole or a street light where they should be calling someone else. So I'm just making that example because a lot of times you guys are not, that's not even part of your job. And you guys don't, I don't want to get there, but you guys not even getting paid for it. But let's go with that. Would you answer me that?
Thank you, Tony, and I'm glad to be here on your show tonight. Beaumont City Council is a city manager form of government. I'm going to explain, unlike Houston, Texas has a mayoral form of government where the mayor make the decisions, but council is involved. But for Beaumont, we have a city management form of government where the council being the mayor and 6 other council members, govern the city manager, the city attorney, the city magistrate, and the city clerk. All 4 of those positions report directly to city council. City council has the authority to hire or fire any one of those 4 positions. So with the mayor and 6 council members, the governing body, it takes 4 votes to make you make a motion, and 4 council members have to agree before a motion is passed. So nothing can be done with 1, 2, or 3 people. You must have 4 councils to agree before any motion can be passed. And a lot of times, I'll take for instance today, there was a motion for a vendor to bill our municipal charges whenever you go to court for, say for instance, outstanding liens such as tall grass or either trash in your yard. If you're given a citation for those type of things that go through municipal court, which is the city court, it was time to vote for a new vendor to handle the billing for those things. Today, if you go back and if you choose to look at the tape, it showed where the city manager and the chief financial, Tard Seminole, recommended one company, but I happened to make the motion today for another company. The motion was second, and 5 members of council voted for the amendment, 2 voted against it. So sometimes it's 5-2, sometimes it's 6-1, sometimes it's 4-3. But as long as you have 4 members voting for the motion, then the motion passed.
So now would you kind of, Robin, would you kind of, Councilwoman, would you kind of explain a little bit about maybe, I know the city of Houston has a different type of government. And
Correct.
And Beaumont has a city manager government, right? Governor, right?
Correct.
And Houston has a mayor governor for the government that runs the city, right?
And so does Port Arthur.
Okay.
Correct, Mayor?
Right. Yeah. It's mayor council, or some folks call it strong mayor versus weak mayor, and they don't mean that you're a weak individual. It's just that your powers are not strong as a mayoral form of government, as opposed to a council or a manager form of government. And just what the Councilwoman explained, there are certain instances in the city of Port Arthur, and either any city, there would be cities like ours, where our city charter would address specific or certain instances that would arise. They would be governed in a certain type of way because the charter, the city charter, or there is an ordinance or resolution that has been passed by the majority. We have that same number where it would be 4-3, because it could be 4 individuals would need to be thinking along the same lines, at least 4, to get something either up or down, on a situation that would arise or come before that body.
So why have both of you guys on here now? Because we have two different cities, and we have the same type government. tell me this, and this is another question I've been asked. What do you control? What do the city council and the mayor control? I know they don't. No, let's go the other way. Yeah, that's fine. Let's go the other way. What do the city manager controls, and who works for who? I want the public to know. I know these answers, but I want the public to know. Okay, go ahead.
Well, if I may go first, Councilwoman, as far as I understand it, of being basically the neophyte or the newer person between myself and even Councilwoman Mouton, would be that the city manager actually works at the behest of the mayor and the council. Okay, he or she handles the everyday administration or management of the city. In Port Arthur, he is it's a male, so I can refer to him as he. He is in charge, or he has actual supervisory powers over all department heads.
Yes.
Now we have assistant city managers, and so an assistant city manager, he have those broken down where one assistant handles certain departments, another assistant would handle other departments, and then they would report directly to the city manager for administrative guidance, if you will, on that. But as far as the everyday and the simplicity of it, the everyday functioning of the city manager actually handles that. Now, the governance of the city and the directives that the city manager would actually begin to implement would be directives that have been given to him or her by the mayor and council. And I think that would apply for both cities.
Correct. Correct.
I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Hey, excuse me, Mayor Bartie, where is the city of Port Arthur? You know, you and I, we grew up, we met when we was in high school, and we've been friends since. And I remember the day and time when we was growing up, we would visit each other's cities, but that was a comparison of one city versus the other. And my question, I'm calling here for a reason here, is that I remember the time Port Arthur was a prosperous, booming town. And will you think that a part of that is coming back, or you can recruit that back? The reason why I'm asking that question is because downtown is blink, just like Beaumont is blink, but you have so much resources in Port Arthur.
Yeah. Well, what folk are going through now, and they use that term from government gentrification. But you also had basically what it was called in the latter 60s, the mid 70s, early 70s, and for sure it was very prevalent during the 80s, was actually white flight. And the white flight, and it wasn't, and it's not unique to Port Arthur, but it's what has happened in Port Arthur. And when you have white flight, then you have the growth of the suburbs. Okay, and this is something I think that historically, if city planners would want to review what has caused the cities to be in some of the conditions or the be in the positions that they're in now because of what happened 20, 30, 40 years ago. And we are actually experiencing it now. Now, in Port Arthur, now we have gentrification, so to speak, or we have a resurgence of folk wanting to return to downtown. One good example of this, if we can remember Houston, Texas, Houston at one time had a very booming downtown, everything. And then all of a sudden, everything in Houston was outside of Houston.
Right.
Going to the Southwest.
Southwest. Right.
Yeah. And then if you remember in the latter 70s, you saw everybody coming back in to wanting to be in Third Ward, wanting to be in Fourth Ward was at Freedman's Land, some row houses and those things.
Right.
All of a sudden, now that property there is boom. You have
that property
in order to buy that property. Now, what we will have what is happening now in the city of Port Arthur, in our corridor downtown, right here where our government facilities. Right. I'm at my office right now, and so right down in this corridor now, we have Mouton has purchased some existing buildings. They are redoing buildings in about a year. Lord spares us, we'll have more than, and the virus is gone. We will have more than 500 or 600 persons a day working each day downtown. Right. These are individuals who are inside of the plant now. Right. What they're doing, they're making the plant where it's total refining, chemical and refining. Right. And those persons who are office personnel and support personnel for the clerical part of it, I would assume, and the high-tech part of it, they will be housed in these buildings that they are refurbishing downtown now, which would in turn give or have an economic impact on Port Arthur. We have some housing, a legacy corporation has a real nice project of building, and when we say affordable housing, we're not talking about Section 8 housing, we're talking about affordable housing that a person with a nominal or income can afford. These houses being built from, I think, from 120 to 160, $180,000 homes that they're building in this area downtown now. Now, all of this is coming back, and that's why I'm not really dwelling on what happened. All I can say is we had white flight, okay? And that was the result of something that happened all over America.
Right.
But what we have to do, I believe it is incumbent upon us who are here and those who are actually charged with the governance of the city now in cities such as this, to be sure that as we actually revitalize, bring back into existence these areas, new areas of town, that, so to speak, that we keep in mind that there are individuals who don't have certain types of incomes, yet do not need to be totally excluded as property owners, as homeowners in this new area, and that they would be able to own some of that property that's there. Some of that property is theirs now. And they don't have to just get rid of it. If they can get on a tax roll, become nice tax-paying citizens in those areas and remain, and they can even do something to revitalize their homes. Really, I'm looking at neighborhoods that would be mixed-use neighborhoods, so to speak. And that's what we're having now, where we won't just say we have just a business district where it's just stores, but a mixed use where you have some businesses for services, you have some businesses for restaurants, and you have other businesses, all but places of employment, plus, and in addition to, existing residents for those persons who work in these areas. So, and that's where we get the mixed use concept that I believe we can implement in the city planning part of what's going on now. Now, this doesn't happen overnight. It's a process.
Right.
Yes, it's a process, and we are in the infancy now. Even as we have some city projects going, and one real big project is the infrastructure in this entire corridor down here. And in this corridor down here, and I know I have something here that deals with something that's big that we are going to be dealing with, but this COVID has taken us not off course. It's just that these other things have become of less importance at this particular time. We have the opportunity zones in the city of Port Arthur. And I don't mind saying it. Our previous administration did a good job in being sure that we would have the opportunity zones. Now, it is incumbent upon my time, or place and time, as far as my administration, so to speak, to be sure that we utilize the opportunity zones to its fullest, so that we can have these different areas revitalized, and the person who would precede me, would come, and even that individual, that they would have ample opportunities to continue to cause the city to flourish and be back to that city of Renfro that you spoke about, that we sort of knew back, as we say, back in the day.
Right.
And it is just to use the vernacular of all my good friends right now. It's a doable thing.
I believe that. I really do believe that, because it's set up for potential.
Yeah,
it's set up now. Let's see. Business will try to come in the area after this. Okay. Now, once Motivas get there, you're going to have restaurants. You're going to have gas stations. You're going to have stores in that area. So it has potential to grow. It has potential to expand and bring people back to that area.
And you know what?
Mm-hmm.
If I could interject,
Yeah.
one thing about it, and what Mayor Bartie just said, that it has the potential to grow. The council that votes on that's seated right now, they may not even be in office once this thing take off, or the groundbreaking of it.
Right.
But it's the groundwork of one council, and then the next council or next two councils, it may be 2 or 3 councils down the road, or elections, before you'll see any of it where it's tangible and you can touch and see what was voted on from years ago. It just doesn't happen overnight.
No, it doesn't happen overnight. I can go back and just an example. And it's Thurman, don't go nowhere. I'm talking about Beaumont now. She brought me back to Beaumont. Let me go back to Beaumont. I can explain to our viewers that we look at the Washington Boulevard project. And that project been on the table for almost 15 years. Yeah, 10,
11 years.
And it's just now coming into fruition. But this is why it's important that we have the right capable people in position, in place, that can make these decisions to progress, because you're not gonna get the clap on the back for what you're doing today, but maybe later on. And it's the same thing when you said earlier, Thurman, is that the administration before you set this up for you to take it to the next level.
Yeah.
So I do understand what you're saying, and I really truly believe that, and I really have hope and prayers that Port Arthur do come back at least halfway the way it was. And you and I know.
I think we have an opportunity to come back fully and even surpass where we were.
Oh, right. Now, I mean, this might be a little touchy. I'm going to ask you another question. This might be a little touchy. When I was saying we have the resources, why is, with all the petrochemicals in that area and all the tax money coming to that city, are they participating in the city? Are there, what happened to the money? I just said, it is something with all that tax money. Why are we still? And I know you're working on it now. You talk about the infrastructures and streets and drainage and sewer. What happened before you? Why is us in this position?
And I'm not totally privy to the information that to say if something went amok, if something were not done. I think it was just a form of governance and the type of involvement that governance actually allowed to take place, that maybe had or did have the inference, I would say, of certain things going lacking. But I believe that priorities were put in different places by those individuals. And as Councilwoman just said, certain things happen, and it's 2 or 3 councils after the council that actually initiates a particular idea that you would see the actual work come to fruition, as you were talking about with the Washington Boulevard project. Well, what I believe has actually transpired in the city of Port Arthur, because I think they had audits and forensic audits, and so there wasn't any large scale, so to speak, misuse of funds. So we haven't experienced that, and I don't think anyone has had to be adjudicated or anything of that nature because of misuse or misallocation of funds. I think that what has actually transpired here in Port Arthur was that there was in place a different perspective of governance. There was in place a different proposal as to how the city should or would look. I believe, because I've been here my entire life, that we went through almost a 10 to 20 year period that where a lot of it called it Newtown or Stonegate, not where our mall is, and where we're on the border with Needland and Port Neches on the north end, and Needland on the north side, I believe it is, and Port Neches, I think the eastern border of it. Okay, where all of the the entrance, so to speak, was to have all of this property and land developed. And with that in mind, everything that could happen for Port Arthur happened in that corridor, so to speak. And as a result of that, I think we suffered neglect in the old part of town, where I am right now, and on the west side where I was born and grew up, and the east side where I played and migrated to find a girlfriend sometime or whatever. You just you go find friends or whatever. Yeah. Okay, those parts of town were neglected. Okay, but they were the older parts of town. Then that coupled with the white flight. So the whites, who were the at that time, majority, they were the ruling class, and they just made strong and firm decisions not to rehab or reinvest in those areas. And they invested in this new area. Right. 10, 15 years after that, we almost end up where we are now. 20 years later, we end up where we are now. Well, now we want to revitalize what we let die. Right. And so that's where we are. But it comes with, I think, the frame of mind or point of reference that a particular group of individuals would have at any particular time or place in time. And in government, that actually happens. Now, when citizens don't participate, and that participation begins with voting. That's right. You said. That's right. When you vote a group of individuals in who do not support, embrace, or even care about what your thoughts are, then the results that you're going to get will not be results that embrace, support, or even show care or concern for what the population's thoughts are. Right. And for so long, or a great period of time in the city of Port Arthur, we experienced that. So, it goes hand in hand. And I don't know, Councilwoman, she's been in this municipal game longer than I. So she can tell you, I don't know what it is that even the elected officials can do. As she said, when you have a council and you have 4 individuals from another school of thought, then those 4 individuals can cause the other 3 to never be able to get anything done simply because of the political philosophy that's being brought forth by the majority of that particular policy-making body. You know, and there are many ramifications, if you will, vicissitudes, if you will, that actually occur in the political arena that causes things to happen. Now, folk like you, well, and I hate to say this, but I don't apologize. They want to be president and blame somebody.
Right.
Does that? Well, okay, you know, so you blame this group because it didn't happen this way. But if you go back to the beginning, you should have had action from the onset. You wouldn't even have to say, you know, this is happening because they didn't do right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to get it off of you. I could say now, well, the streets haven't been fixed because no. All I could say is that was a different school of thought.
Mm-hmm.
Now everyone on council now has X amount of dollars that they spend in their district, and they suggest to the city manager, who in turn lets the public works departments know that these are the streets that need to be repaired. But they are being repaired because those citizens are in contact with those individuals whom they elected.
Yes.
To be sure that their streets would get attention.
Yes.
Again, as she said, it takes time.
But I want to interject something right there, and I'll let you get back in.
No, I'm gonna let. I was about to get to you. I'm finna drill down on you now. Okay,
because
go ahead, Barbie. Go ahead.
Okay, because each ward is given an equal amount of dollars for their ward for street repair.
Yeah.
But when you look at Ward 4, which is my ward, which runs from MLK all the way through the Pear Orchard of Beaumont to down 11th Street, the old Hollywood Village neighborhood, Silver City, all the way to Central High School, then you compare my dollars to dollars that are in wards 1 and 2, where the streets are curb and gutter, they're newer neighborhoods. My dollar isn't going to stretch as far as their dollar is going to stretch. And it's only X amount of dollars that's being spent. And so when my roads and my neighborhood is 100 years old, and then the next ward, such as Ward 1 and 2, are 40 and 50 years old, it's no comparison because my dollar will not stretch that far. So then you look at the street analysis that's done, and Mary, you understand what I'm saying, the street analysis. So streets are graded, and you look at the worst streets, most driven. And this is a problem in every city. It's not unique to Beaumont, Port Arthur, Jefferson County. It's in every city in the United States. When we go to conference, Mary, you know, that's the main conversation, streets. Everybody has the same problem. You're trying to take that dollar bill and stretch it to fix as many streets as possible. Well, it's no different than you running your household. Everything can't get done at one time. So you take the most traveled street and use your dollars there first, and hopefully you have dollars left to do some other much needed repairs, because it's never going to be enough money. Never. By the time you repair the streets on one side, it's time to do them again. And this is the same problem in Ward 4 and Ward 3, because we're the oldest sections of town. Ward 4 being the south end and the north end. And like I say, my ward is from Lamar University, Terra Park, span all the way to Hollywood Village, 11th Street, and Crockett, all the way to Central High School, all the way to Kroger's, 18th Street, and then clear on back to Terra Park. That's a large area.
So let me ask this question, and I know no one wants their taxes raised.
No one.
No one.
Including me.
Yeah, okay, I understand. But I wish this crossed my mind, and this is we're talking. This is a talk podcast. We're talking in general, and we have people, viewers are watching and listening, and everyone has their own opinion about certain things. And this is why I wanted you to break down the structures of government to let them know that some of the things that you're not even responsible for with the city bylaws. But I'm gonna ask this another touchy question. And in Beaumont, we have a problem. Beaumont has a problem. Drainage and sewage and our infrastructure is out of place, out of line. I mean, it just hurricane season started June 1st. That's Sunday. So
exactly.
When we have a cold front, a rain front that comes through here, a thunderstorm comes through here, hey, we're nervous. We're frightened. We're nervous. We want to know if we're going to be safe, or we have to move our cars to higher grounds, or are we prepared? No. I was at the city council meeting last Tuesday, and we watched it live on online today. What is anyone talking about? Maybe let's stop patching up things and let's just do it right. Let's just, maybe let's set up a city bond for doing a real, true infrastructure.
Well, we haven't discussed that, but I would say it's something that's needed. When the late great Get Right, she and I talked with the city manager, and the city manager position is, hey, you give me 4 votes that want to move forward with it. My job is to execute it as city manager.
Right.
That is his job, and that is his position.
And I'm pretty sure. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. I was about to say, I'm pretty sure that's quite a few people would like to see a little tax rate. I mean, just the bond wouldn't cost us that much. I mean, the tax wouldn't cost us that much. But when we hear the word raise your taxes, our eyes buck out our heads because things are tight as it is right now. But would you think that we just say, hey, what it's going to take to fix Ward 3, Ward 4, Ward 1 infrastructure? And you notice I didn't say, I'm sorry, not Ward, is it Ward 3? Well, no, what ward is it where I live? What a Darling Road is? Ward what, sweetie?
You're Ward 1.
Ward 1, okay. No, not Ward 1, well, Ward 2, which is Old Town, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Well, now, wait a minute. Some of Old Town is Ward 4. Some of Old Town is Ward 3.
So why don't we just put, let's have that in discussion. I mean, your councils and get you two, and I think one more can talk about it, and let's see let's ask why we couldn't look at this more closely by putting it.
Well, you can always look at it, but you always have to remember anything that's done, there's a cost.
Oh, I know that.
There's a cost.
Everything costs.
Everybody wants it fixed, but do you want to pay to have it fixed? Okay. Well, and when I say pay to have it fixed, I mean, do you want to pay more in taxes? Some people feel like they already pay enough taxes, whereas some people pay more taxes, and they have the better streets. And sometimes, the old saying, the good has to suffer for the bad. But at some point, it can't always be good on the left side, and then the right side is just going astray. Because when you look at it as a whole, it's your entire city.
Yes, but
you have to have a balance.
Right, but I know the older infrastructure are in your ward and in Councilman Samuel and Neil Ward. And every time that we receive funds or federal funds, it's split evenly across the board. Where I would think that most of the funds should go to the older infrastructure, the sewer and the drainage, because out in Ward 1, it's fairly new. I mean, and a lot of those plans that they're doing now, like Dowden Street Road, they paved that, like we said earlier, that happened years ago.
Well, see,
that was years ago. And the reason why, we all know the reason why, but
well, not everybody does know, Tony. And so, since you brought that up, the Dowland Road overlay, a lot of people made comments asking why did they do Dowland Road again, because it wasn't bad, and why would you do it again? Well, that was money that was allocated and earmarked 10 years ago. The money had been sitting on the books. It had been sitting on the books because it just wasn't used, because there was other dollars that they thought would come in to do something different. But because it wasn't enough money to do what the intent was, either they had to use the money by a certain date or it would go back to the state. The money had been sitting there 10 years. I know for a fact the only two people that was on council 10 years ago was the mayor and Councilman Samuel. So as a citizen driving down and you're seeing them paving a street that looks better than the street you ride on, and you're wondering, why are they fixing this street? Well, when it's earmarked for a certain project, it can only be used for that project. And that was a state project, that was a state job. So then when you see people working, and then the number of employees that was out there working, I mean, it was a number of people, more than you would see working on any other street and any other job. So to the citizen that doesn't have all of the background, you would say, well, this isn't right. They're getting an overlay on the street that's already smooth, and look at all of the workers. But I know, and downtown know, that that's money that's from 10 years ago. If they didn't use it, if you don't use it, you lose it. Because if it's earmarked for that project, you can only use it for that project. So rather than losing the money, what they did, they incorporated sidewalks, because you have Marshall School and kids walking home from school that didn't have sidewalks to walk on. So they did gain sidewalks. And I know people will say, well, our kids walk to and from school all the time in certain areas and don't have sidewalks. And that's true.
Yeah, I noticed that. I noticed the other day I was driving by the new school, BU, and the kids are walking in the grass to school.
Well, that's been my complaint since I got on council.
That's I don't even go there. Hey,
walking in grass, no sidewalks, and
yeah.
on a 4-lane street,
right?
That's almost like a highway.
Yes. So I'm gonna put a note there, because I want to address that, and we're gonna address that later. But I'm gonna say this, and I want you, and I understand, and I know this, that there are viewers watching this podcast, and there are those who knows what we're talking about. But why don't you all let the people decide? Let us vote on a bond that would fix our city, because we're behind times right now. I mean, people cannot flush their toilets.
Exactly.
The water's backing up in the tubs when it rains.
It's flooding with water up to your knees on a normal.
To me, I would, and this is me saying this, but I would pay increase in tax to get the city properly repaired.
May I chime in? And I was letting Councilwoman, because I know in the city of Beaumont there's a big issue. There was a rain about a couple of weeks or so ago, and flooding actually occurred. Now, the infrastructure is so antiquated in these older parts of town. Again, it goes back to what I said, where we went 20 years or more in specific areas without any maintenance or upkeep,
Right.
so to speak, on these different infrastructural systems. As a result of that, now some have even I know we had some areas instead of Port Arthur, my old clay pipe was still there, and we still have some areas now. I don't think that we've totally replaced it all, but we've gone through, and I know, and again, this is something that takes time. Where for our fresh water, we had to go through something, and I can recall 10 or 20 years ago, it's almost the beginning, or that was a time that they were doing a part of it, a lot of it in the area of town where I was living at that time. And then we built a new water plant. Okay, so now we had better drinking water for citizens, and but then we still gone through periods where we've had some moments where the water had become contaminated because of just it's all man-made. So your fallacy is going to be prevalent at some point or another. Right. Okay, and now flip that over to drainage. Because of the antiquated systems that are in place, there are, I could be wrong, I don't know, Councilman, you may know even about this part of it better than I. There are federal funds that you can actually get to assist with infrastructure.
And we are tapping into that right now.
Right, because of the age of your infrastructure, and, right, and the results that it actually, or what happens with certain incidents, which would be you would have a rain incident, and even a hurricane, just a normal rain, as you said, and you got 2 feet of water, and cars are being stalled. Well, when you see this, then I know, and I've learned this in the last few months, where you get our state representatives involved, you get our district, federal national congressmen involved, or senators, whomever, in these positions where we can get some funding to come down to assist with this. Now, if bonds are needed, I think that is the final straw in that paradigm now, if I'm correct, because it is an issue that the federal government will assist a municipality in, but we've got to be able, and you have to have personnel who actually knows how to go after these monies, when to go after the money.
Right.
And you have, so, they have to have supervision that would be so forward thinking,
right,
would actually have those results, which in turn, and some people may not like what I'm getting ready to say, but I'm a realist, and it makes persons who are in a position such as myself, such as the congresswoman, a councilwoman, who some people say don't call yourselves politicians, but that's what we are. Okay, and who are in political positions. We can get some graft out of that, yet it's only because we are serving during a particular time that you have these individuals in these other positions that know how to get these things done. Now, all of this occurs, and I've learned this, or I am learning
right,
in this process, when you have a cohesiveness in your city or municipal administration. See, if you have a lot of division or infighting, so to speak.
In-house fighting.
Of that infighting is
Right.
going to be out in your community.
Right.
If you have a lot of infighting on your council, the results of that infighting will be shown with the results and the decisions that you make for the citizens.
Right.
So again, it goes, I'm not preaching to the choir. I know I'm not. But it goes back to what I said a little earlier. It goes back to voter participation, to citizen participating
and citizen participation.
All the people and other people.
Yes.
Okay? And you can be each of those by participating in the process. Now, once you participate in the process, the individual will bring to the table what your desires are. Okay, but when you don't participate, then you cannot expect results that would be favorable toward you. If you don't participate, you can't expect your street to not flood when the piping and the infrastructure there is 80 years old and it's not even built to carry the load that's now being produced by rain incidents.
Right.
Okay, but if you participate and you find out, well, what will it take to correct this? Now, you already know you may go through 1 or 2 hurricane seasons with it being not corrected because it takes time. But because you have participated and you have actually caused the wheel to begin to turn, then you're going to eventually get some results. Pray God that you live to see it. But if he calls you home, you know that now you have a legacy of something you've left and that you can show even your children and grandchildren that participating in this government. You see, so many of us want to sit back and complain. And I don't have any problem with complaining, because complaining causes persons who are in positions like myself and the councilwoman to be made aware. Okay. Now, but don't just complain, and never try or attempt to do something that would be offering a solution to whatever the perceived problem is. And that's all I want to say in this. I know in the city of Port Arthur, we have some infrastructure projects going, but it's taking time. And we have some infrastructure projects that have been completed because of the forward thinking of others at a particular time before I even came on. Right. And the results are being positive now because we made those decisions. Again, 30, 40 years ago, I lived on the west side. Every time it rained a little hard, it was going to flood. But now through time and some wise thinking individuals, the infrastructure there has changed. And when they put in new streets, they put in the proper drainage. Now it's taken time, And when you look at even all like y'all call them wards, we call them districts here. And Councilwoman, we suffer from the very same thing that where you have certain districts that have more streets or more mileage, a larger degree of mileage for streets than some other district. Yet how the money is actually dispensed or dispersed, one district may have newer streets and may not need as much work as the other one, but because of the agreements that were made with those with those districts prior to my coming, that money is allocated in that specific manner. So it's used like that. And even with that, you get the folk who are not happy because their street is still in disrepair, but it's coming, and they can actually view. I think they can even go to Port Arthur, City of Port Arthur website, and I think Public Works, if I'm correct, they can review the process and when their street is actually proposed to come up, you know, for repair and those things. You're not going to ever make everybody happy, but as long as they can see that there is some positive movement in what they want done or what they would like to see being done, then I think that your governance is actually attributed in a positive manner, you know, and you can continue to have citizens participate, because this is a participatory thing, a system here. No matter strong mayor, weak mayor, however you want to claim. Yeah, if you have that, you're going to get results that would be pleasing to the populace.
Mayor Bartie, you answered my question. I threw that line out on purpose to make sure that somebody bite on it, you get on it, and you took it, and you read it, and that means I know there's money, there's monies from the federal government that we can ask for, grants and getting our congressman to participate and get him involved and bring this money in to help us with our infrastructure. Before, like you said, a bond is the last thing we want to do. Okay?
Exactly.
Because there's money there, and I had to throw that in there because I want to receive that from you, one of you all, to feed that back to the viewers. What can be done and can be done if we had the right people.
Well, Tony, and one thing I want to say to the audience is that make your voices heard. Always make your voices heard. I mean, you know, you may say, well, I'm tired of saying it, or I've said it to my council member, or I've gone to council meeting. And I know council meeting for us in Beaumont it's during most people work time, but we are having quarterly meetings once a quarter at night. So, but even with that, you can go online. I mean, you can go online anytime. You can contact any council member by going online. You can choose the council member. You can direct it to all council members, including the mayor, including the city manager, and let your voice be heard. Again, it's not one person. It's always going to take 4 votes, but one citizen can change something and can make a difference.
Yeah.
And in closing, I just want to remind people that we are still testing for COVID-19. You must call and make an appointment by dialing 409-550-2536. Again, that number is 409-550-2536. And again, please don't forget about your census. If you have not filled out your census report, please go online. If you have a paper census form, please fill it out. That is another way that monies are directed to our county and to our cities, by filling out that census form. Tony, an hour isn't enough to even go into everything that.
Yeah, I know. We're gonna have to do this again because I haven't even got halfway down my sheet. I mean, we haven't. Man, we've got to do this again. So I'm gonna have to set up another time to do this in the next week or so, because I didn't even finish going down what a lot of things that we have an issue here that we didn't cover, but I threw some softballs at you guys and want you to knock it out the park. But we've got problems, and in Beaumont, we know we have problems. We've got dirty buses, we got transit system that's not in line, we've got city streets out of line, we've got flooding, we've got a whole mess of stuff. You know, I drove through
environmental issues.
That's right. And we got dirty buses. I don't even ride buses, but they pass by me and it's just filthy. What happened to the funds? Before we go, what happened to the funds that was allocated to the city transit?
Well, city transit falls under the city of Beaumont.
Yes.
but it's operated by another entity, but it is a subsidy of Beaumont.
Mm-hmm.
So when you say what happened to it, we voted last Tuesday. We voted last Tuesday to accept the transit funding,
Mm-hmm.
and so the city pitch in half of it, and the other half comes from federal funding,
Mm-hmm.
and all of those dollars and monies are combined, and that is what our city operate off of. So uh, I think it was a unanimous vote that the council did vote to accept the federal funding for the bus system.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, you don't ride the bus, and I don't have to ride the bus, but I always think about the people that depend on the bus
Right.
system for
Right.
transportation. I have ridden the bus, unbeknown to a couple of bus drivers, and just got on the bus because you have to get on to know what's going on.
Yeah. Well, we've had a great evening, and I don't like to keep my audience long because we lose their attention. But this has been a great show, and Mayor and Councilwoman Mouton, you guys have really give us all some information. But I must say we have problems. We've got to get this problem, and especially the flooding. We've got to get that. Mayor Bartie over there in Port Arthur, you're doing a wonderful job, my brother, and
Thank
just
you.
keep doing what you're doing and doing what you're doing. And it's going to come together. It takes time. It says persevere.
Right.
It takes persevering, and everything takes time.
And working together.
Working together. And that's the key, working together. You said that. But I'm going to say this again, something you said, Mayor, is citizen participation.
Yeah.
We want anything done. And that is called VOTE. Vote. People, we got to vote. You're crying and whining, but you don't vote. This is why we're in the position we are now. This is why things are happening to us now. This is why we can't get this done, because we do not vote. We vote the wrong people in office because there was kinfolks or somebody you went to school with. It was a club member. Or we put the wrong people in place. We put, that was my golfing buddy. Let's put the qualified person in place. This is why most our council members are having infighting, dysfunctional going on, because we're not clicking. You got to have a good clubhouse. A football team, a basketball team, a sport team that has a good clubhouse strives. And if we don't have that, we're not going to strive. We're stagnant. And I hate to say that, Councilman or Mouton, but we are stagnant. And it's going to take you and 3 others that are going to be aggressive and progressive, that's ready to make some changes and make the right changes to make the city what it should be. But with all that said, let me let my audience know that next Sunday podcast is going to be a great podcast as well. We have the Jefferson County Clerk, Mrs. Carolyn Guidry, and Joe Trahan, the Jefferson County Democratic chairperson, and also Joe Desater is going to join us again on Sunday. And I'm going to move the show up from 7:30, 8 o'clock on Sunday. We're going to talk about mail-in ballots. We're going to talk about the Census 2020. And we're going to make sure we get this Democratic Party going the right way in Jefferson County that we need to pull, and we need to pull together. And we can't do nothing we don't pull together. So, and my man, let's do this again. Can we do this again? Because I have not finished going over some things that I really wanted to the viewers to know and understand where you're going and how are you going to get there. And again, it takes time, patience. I mean, patience. And I understand that. But I'm that person that's always going to sit back and try my best to make everyone accountable. And this is what we got to do in the city of Beaumont. Those who are making decisions, we got to make those people accountable. And I'll get into those in Port Arthur. City participation. Make your folks that you're voting for and you put in office, make them accountable. Make them accountable. I'm talking to my best mayor in Southeast Texas, Mayor Thurman Bill Bartie, and my favorite girl, Councilwoman Mouton. And before I go, I need to also let you know, this deal is coming. Let's see, can I get there? Where is it? Let me find it here. My son, he's my engineer and producer, and he quit on me. And so I'm doing everything by myself. He asked, why you quit on it, brother? He said, you ain't paying me. So I saved this date. Beaumont NAACP Freedom Fund Banquet is coming December 18th, 2020 at the Beaumont Civic Center. And the theme this year is going to be, Are You Woke? Tickets are available. And information you can call 409-842-0294 from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. And I don't know if you can see the email address, but I'll repeat that again. And the guest speakers, wow, we got a great speaker. Going to be Joe Madison. Joe Madison is the Black Eagle on XM Sirius Radio. He will be the guest speaker for the Beaumont NAACP Freedom Fund Banquet, December 18th, right downtown in the city of Beaumont, Texas. Let's go back to my group here, my family here. There we go. Nope, I didn't get it. Let me get it back. Hold on. You gotta remember, guys. Nope, that's not it either. Where is it? Nope, that ain't it. Nope. Wait a minute, him coming. There we go. Whew.
The engineer.
My engineer. Shout out here, man. You gonna play fine, you know? My engineer man said I ain't paying him. I said, hey man, you family, you know. So anyway, that's not a ball about. Anyway, guys, I enjoyed you. We didn't go into comments, and we have a slew of comments, and we didn't even get a chance to even answer some of the questions that our comments was flashed on the screen. So I'm going to save these comments and I'm going to hold on to them and copy them, and we're going to come back again. Is that all right, you guys?
That's good.
Whenever you is comfortable for the councilwoman, and I can try to work it into my schedule, and I'll be make myself.
I really appreciate you guys, because there was so much we didn't cover. But
I'd like to say one last thing, Tony. If you along this line that the councilwoman said, please stay safe. We do not have this virus contained. Avoid large crowds at all costs. Continue to wear your mask. Put your mask up with your mask.
Yeah.
Please do those things because it's necessary. You protect you from them, and you protect them from you. And whether you want to know it or not, I think we crossed 100,000 death mark in the United States on today. And that's not anything to be proud of, but it's something that God is permitting, and we have to live with it. But each one of those individuals who passed away, that's someone's loved one.
That's right.
And we need to be vigilant,
right,
and just do what we've been doing. And social distancing has caused us not to have a greater number of deaths. So
and hand washing.
Use common sense.
Yeah, common sense. Wash your hands at all times. Keep some sanitizer with you.
And also in Port Arthur, and I don't have the number, but you can call the Port Arthur Health Department, and they will give you information on testing that is free, and then there's even information on testing where you have to have the insurance card, okay? Or you can be charged on a sliding scale. But we have agencies that are available, and we have an agency that we actually voted on the damn council meeting. And that is going to be for some free testing. They just haven't actually gotten the sites together. But if you call the Port Arthur Health Department, they will speak with you and let you know when all of this will begin with free COVID-19 testing. And everyone needs to be tested.
Yes, everyone.
Everyone should be tested.
Robin, again, repeat where they can be tested.
Well, what you have to do is call the telephone number that I gave out, 409-550-2536.
Mhm.
It was at the fire station on College Street, but
It
that
still is.
location,
It still is. It still is.
that location will not be, I think they're getting ready to close that location.
Well,
So, yes, but
I will give you some suggestions. You probably would like to have those testing done in the neighborhood.
well, we're looking, well,
You know, where we're the African American is the ones who's having that, who's catching the COVID-19. We need to have those in our area.
well, that's being looked at right now.
Good.
Because my ward zip code 77705 is one of the area codes. I'm sorry, zip codes
Okay.
that has a high number of
Yes.
positives.
Right.
So that is being looked into.
Okay. I suggest everyone get tested. Just get
Exactly.
tested. Don't take.
Because you can get a false negative.
Right.
And a lot of people are walking around with the virus without symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
Some people don't have any symptoms and can still test positive. And that has happened.
Wow. Again, I have my viewers who's watching, and I'm sure we're going to have, it's growing every week. We're now at about an average of 7,000 people, 8,000 people. Okay, 8,000 people are watching us every podcast now. So it's growing from 300 to 8,000, a little bit over 8,000 people a week now is watching this show and this podcast. So we want you to understand that I'm here, and knowledge is power to educate you, to know, to share news, things that you need to know, sharing our knowledge and our wisdom, sharing, educating you to know how to live and what's best for us. And we got to communicate. We, the African American community, we've got to come together. We've got to work together. We can't do it without, we got to. You know, I post something over the weekend, and A.E. Hoover was over the FBI. Remember, and he said, they asked him, he said, what fear you the most in the United States? What fear you most in the United States? This is A.G. Hoover, who ran the FBI for years, for 5 decades. And he said to
J. Edgar Hoover.
That's Hoover. I couldn't think, but I went blank. And he said, Negroes uniting. That's his biggest fear. Us uniting. So if we can unite, come together, we'll be unstoppable. People go vote. Vote every time we have an election. Vote. 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 Register and vote and vote. Brother Thurman, last words, we're gonna roll. Okay, great. Hey, Mrs. Mouton, Councilwoman, we done? Good. Thank you, folks. And we'll see you
All right.
on Sunday with 8 o'clock on Knowledge is Power. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Yeah.